All right, I'm reading this book again. I recommend this book to a lot of people. I recommend it to my wife is reading it at the moment. It's a book that I bring up. Author is William Keeler. So it's the Keeler method of dog training. This particular one is guard dog training. He does have a few other books on obedience. And in general, the obedience is really solid information. The guard dog portion is really, really solid information as well. I like William Keeler. I like the, the writing style, and I like his training style for sure. However, there are some parts of the book in which he does emphasize quite a bit of pressure. And just like any method, just like any book, just like any dog trainer, you're going to find things like that. There are definitely trainers that are really good at one particular thing, but even within that particular thing, you might find one or two things that maybe you don't like. You might find a couple of things or a few things that you think, well, I don't necessarily agree with that part of the approach. And that is perfectly okay. One thing I've noticed about William Keeler trainers, because that is the thing, there are William Keeler trainers. There are people that strictly follow the Keeler method of dog training. And, that's perfectly fine, good on them. But talking to them is almost as bad as talking to purely positive trainers, meaning they can be pretty close-minded. So if you say any sort of criticism on the book, they immediately jump on your throat. They're immediately telling you you're not doing it right. They're immediately telling you you didn't read the book right. And when you show them pictures of the book, parts of the book that say, do this, this, and that, and you show that to them, they get defensive, and then they tell you, well, I haven't had to do that, or, that's not the way we do it. And unless the training method has evolved, then there are parts of it in which you definitely tell yourself that's a little bit too much, that's a little bit too harsh. I'm not condemning the book entirely. I'm not saying the William Keeler method of training is bad, and I'm not I don't have a problem with the book, with the author, with the writing style or the training style necessarily, but I understand that this book was written decades ago, and the technology and dog training itself has evolved so much that it's almost silly to think this style of training that was implemented decades ago, I'm going to stick with it because I think it's the best method out there. And it really isn't the best method out there. It's a method. It is a good method. But to just categorize it as the best method and say, I'm going to stick with that, it's just as bad as saying, I'm a purely positive trainer and this is how I'm going to do it. I don't want to hear anything else. It's just as bad as saying, I'm an e-collar trainer and this is how I'm going to do every single training approach. 1, 2, 3, right? Very cookie cutter. And that's not what dog training is. You should never look at a method and go, I'm going to stick with that method, or I'm going to stick with that person, what that person says. Because then you're showing loyalty to the method, you're showing loyalty to the trainer. You're not showing loyalty to the dog. You're not showing loyalty to the client. When you're working with clients and you're working with dogs, you have to be flexible. You have to know, okay, what is the best approach for that client? What is the best approach for that dog? Not try to fit the dog to your method, but rather try to mold the method to the case that you're working with.